hands-on materials and new books, and they keep adding new things, and so we're just, really pleased to be part of that and being behind the scenes. Our annual books sale is March 20th, so. I know you're all here to see Harry. I'm excited about seeing him too. He and I both came to this area at the same year, 1979. But he was only 24 years old when he started Harry's Continental Ketchup. And it was very impressive, from Green Bay, Wisconsin. He became interested in cooking while working at the Green Bay Packers training camp cafeteria. He's won all kinds of awards, the Florida Trend Award, the Wine Spectator Award of Excellence, and without further ado, Harry.
Living out here in the early 70s, there was no babysitters to be had or anything to have for people that wanted to eat at home, so I designed a home replacement meal program doing takeout dinner, and then they would say, could you send a bartender over to bartend, and so I would get servers, and then all of a sudden the catering service kicked in, and I was doing sit-down dinners for 500, 600 people. Back in the 70s, Continental meant from Europe, Africa, from any continent in the world. We would do Asian food, we did American food, we did Australian food, German food, French food. Continental means you do any style of cooking that people wanted to have.
We definitely love wine. We believe that wine and food complement each other. We have about 200 different labels. We do a lot of traveling to discover new wines and new foods in different parts of the world. We do a 4-course prefix.
My son Hal.
We change that prefix every 2 weeks. I think Continental really encompasses all cuisines and kind of lets you meld them into one. We have a lot of passion for food and wine. We have passion for great service. And we want you to feel like you're walking away with a really, truly unique experience that's going to make you want to tell your friends about it and come back for more. Harry's Catering is probably one of the oldest and most experienced catering companies in the Sarasota Bradenton area. We've been catering since 1979. We can customize any menu to your individual likes and preferences. Everybody loves the deli because it's such a local spot along those keys. You can come in here for a delicious sandwich, make the order, stop in to get your dinner for the evening, have fine wine selection available to you as well. So it's really a one-stop shop. If you need dinner, lunch, you're entertaining, you can get platters and hors d'oeuvres and catering picked up from the deli. But the main thing for the deli is the homemade dinner that you take and bake at your home. We also have some breakfast specialties that are sold out of our corner store, as far as breakfast burritos and little egg sandwiches for on-the-go people that can grab their coffee and a breakfast burrito and get their boat and go fishing all day. When they come in with their pets, they can call Harry up and make a reservation and bring their pets in and cook it for them.
And then we got people coming in to get their home replacement meals, because the best place to have dinner is sitting on your balcony and on the Gulf of Mexico watching the sunset and having a wonderful road-stop dinner and not having to have to do anything. And then the restaurant is the wonderful place to come and eat and drink and be Harry.
Test. I'll tell you my story now a little bit here. I grew up in a little town called De Pere, Wisconsin, and my parents both worked 2 jobs. They got married young. They dropped out of high school and had 4 kids by the time they were 21 years old. And so I always had to figure out a way to get some money if I wanted to get anything to have. So I threw newspapers, cut lawns, shoveled snow, yeah, that's on it. And so I would go out and recycle pop bottles. You get 2 cents a piece for them, and it added up to a lot of money after a while. So you're doing so. And my mother worked as a dishwasher at the St. Norbert College, which is in De Pere, and that's the place that houses the Green Bay Packers training camp. And so during the summertime, all the students and stuff would leave, and so I would go and help my mother and the cooks and bus tables and wash dishes and serve food, whatever needed to be done to help them in the kitchen to serve all the Green Bay Packers. And where was I? The chefs, they were winning the world championship back then, and so the chefs would come up from Chicago and Milwaukee, and they would do these big food center pieces and ice carvings. And I was like 12 years old, and it influenced me a lot, and that's when I decided, well, that's what I want to do when I grow up. I want to be a chef. And so I pretty much dedicated my whole life to learning to be a chef. And I, would take nutritional courses in high school, and I tried taking home economics when I was in high school, but the principal kept saying, "Oh, Harry, you just want to be with all the girls in the class." And I had a real hard time getting in, but I finally did get in, and I was the first boy in our high school to be able to take home economics, so it paid out pretty good. And the company that I worked for at St. Norbert College also ran Marquette University in Milwaukee, and that's where I was going to go to chef school, was in Milwaukee at Milwaukee Area Technical College. And so that summer after high school, I went down to Oconomowoc and ran a Boy Scout camp for them. There was the same food service during the summer, and then in the fall I went and ran McCormick Hall at Marquette University. In the food service. And after working there for a while, I started wanting to get more into classical cooking. So I went to worked in North Hills Country Club and Ozaki Country Club, all the really fine country clubs around in the Milwaukee area that had great European chefs. And so that's where I learned my theoretical and practical experiences while I was going to chef school, and it helped me a real lot. And then after my first year of chef school, I went up to Door County and I ran a supper club. In Wisconsin, they have things called supper clubs where you go in and they got all the pretty cool things going on up there. And then so I did that for the summer, and then I went back to Milwaukee to the chef school, and Lynn and I were going to get married in June, but I took a job working at American Plan Hotel up in Door County called the Alpine Resort in Fish Creek. And when I was hired as the sous chef, and so when I got up there, I was 20 years old and the chef didn't show up, so I ended up taking the chef's job, and we did 500 people breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week, and I didn't know if it was day or night, if I was taking a nap or waking up from sleeping or what was going on. It was just a lot of work, and ran the dining room at the time. So the season was over at the Alpine up in Door County, and a lot of the people that worked at the Alpine, they also worked down in Naples during the winter at a country club. And so we thought, well, we got married on spring break in college, and we went to the Bahamas on a cruise for our honeymoon, and we really liked the warm weather, and we thought we'd really like to come down to Florida after living our lives in northern Wisconsin. And so after the season was over, we came down to Florida, and we stopped at a high school friend's house in Sarasota, and Lynn and I took a drive out from Longboat Key to the tip of Anna Maria Island, and we said, this is far enough, we don't need to go to Naples. And so we looked around and we found a little cottage for rent in the north end in the village area of Longboat Key, and then the next day I went out and got a job at Sarasota Yacht Club in Sarasota, which was a real nice club, because I worked a lot of clubs in Milwaukee, and I thought it'd be great. And the German chef there, Roland, said, well, you need to go work at the Far Horizons Resort on Longboat Key, because that's a Michelin star hotel on Longboat Key, and they, Willy Brandt would go there. All the important dignitaries from Europe that came here went to this hotel. And so I went and I got a job there. I was going to start in the fall, and so the summer I took a chef job working in the Pocono Mountains in Pocono Pines, Pennsylvania. And it was a home development where you bought a home and then you became part of the club. And they had the clubhouse, they had riding stables and tennis courts and golf courses and beaches and pools, and we had snack bars all over. And Lynn ran the snack bars, and I took care of the country club. And we did that for the season. And then I go back to the Far Horizons to work the winter in the Far Horizons, and up to Pocono Pines in the Pocono Mountains in Pennsylvania for the summertime. And after about 3 years of doing that, I thought I would try and get some experience working in New York City. And so I got a job working at the Waldorf Astoria. I was a head saucier at the Waldorf Astoria in Manhattan, and I ran the main dining room at nighttime. We did the dinner theater. There's 7 different restaurants that we did all the sauces for, and then we did all the ballrooms. We did all the catering in all the different ballrooms on each floor and stuff. And while I was up there working there, Norbert and Titus opened up Cafe La Ropa on St. Armand's Circle, and my friend Ray, who I went to chef school with, Ray Arpke, he owns Euphemia Hay restaurant now. He was the nighttime chef, and he asked me to come and be the daytime chef there. So I decided to move back down to Florida and get out of New York City. The winter was coming in. So I went there, and what basically what I was doing was, cooking, getting everything ready, and doing the fabulous lunches and stuff that we had at Cafe La Rope. And plus, I would make the roast duck and make the beef Wellingtons and coq au vins and veal à la reine and things like that for the night crew. And then the night crew would come in. They would cook the steaks to order, but a lot of the stuff was already prepped that they just had to heat up and serve. And so a friend of mine told me about, they were on Sanibel Island, and they saw this one guy, little store, and he was making roast chicken and meatloaf and selling it out for people to take home and eat. And I thought, well, I could take that up a notch. And so I, started, when I went back up to do the Pocono Mountains, on my days off, I would run into New York City and check out a lot of the new takeout services were just opening up back in 1974 and 75. The Silver Palette and the Three Pigs and Word of Mouth, and a lot of real nice takeout services were just starting to come on. And so I went into those, and then I came back to Cafe La Rope, and I started looking for a little place to do my little takeout thing that I was thinking of doing and studying. And so I found a place, about 300 square foot little place to rent, and got in there and renovated it. And we opened up in the first of the year doing takeout dinners and party specialties. It wasn't called Harry's, we just called it Continental Kitchens Gourmet Takeout and Party Specialties. And so we would do platters and hors d'oeuvres, and people would order them and say, hey, can you send over a bartender, or do you have a server that can help with it? And so being in the business, I knew pretty much everybody, and so I would always send over somebody to take care of their parties. And before you know it, I was doing every catering event in Bradenton and Sarasota, all the big galas and functions and everything that was going on, so that's how the catering business took off like crazy, and the takeout service, and people would line up outside the door and watch in the windows because we would be running late for a party. So I would just lock up the takeout service so we could get all the hors d'oeuvres, and everybody would line up and look and seeing us doing all the different hors d'oeuvres and the platters and shushing them out to the parties, and so that worked out real good. And I heard about a property that was for sale on St. Jude's Drive, where my restaurant is right now. It was a house, and they was a house next to it actually, and they advertised that it was commercial. So I went to the town hall, and I went to the building department. I asked, this house is commercial? And they said, yeah. And I said, could I use it for my takeout? And he said, no, you have to have 5 parking places, and that only has 3 parking places on it. But I own the house right next door, and you could use that house if you want. And you got 5 parking places in there, and you could do it. So I ended up buying that house, and in 1980 we moved the takeout service into the house where it is now. And then in 1984 I got some extra parking. I bought a house across the street and made a parking lot, so I got some extra parking, and I made a little restaurant in there. And we always reinvested ourselves back into the business, and we almost always bought contiguous commercial property so we could expand our businesses with the need and what was going on through the years and stuff. So, and then in 1992, we moved the deli that was in there across the street to another building that we had, and then made the deli into a dining room. So we ended up having a 72-seat restaurant, in there, and bought a couple other little houses. We had the office in there and storage, and then in 2006 we bought the convenience store that's up in front of it, and after the tenants moved out, then we went in there and got that business going. So now we got 4 different businesses going that Lynn and I running around like crazy, and we had the catering business and the takeout deli business and the restaurant business and then a convenience store. So it was it's really exciting and a lot of fun taking care of all that stuff and doing it. And then in the 40 years that Lynn and I have been doing this, we raised 2 sons, and I was involved in the Anna Maria Community Center a real lot back then, and actually what they called it was the Anna Maria Rec Center was what they really called it, because back in the 70s and 80s, most of the people that worked out on Anna Maria Island or lived on worked out on Longboat Key, they also lived out here. A lot of the people raised their families, and so all the functions and stuff at the rec center back then was baseball and soccer and basketball, and most of the things were geared for kids. There weren't that many adult activities going on there, and so I've been involved in doing all the different fundraisers there, from spaghetti dinners to the Fair to Remember, and doing what we could. And now both my sons are grown up. Well, Al's 45, so I guess I can say he's grown up now. And he graduated from FSU in hospitality, and he worked when he got out of college for Ruth Chris Steakhouses for 4 years, and then he joined up with us, and he's been our general manager at our business, working with Lynn and I since 2004. And my other son Eric, he's an ocean engineer, and he works in D.C. at the Naval Yard for a company called Carter-Rock. They engineer battleships and nuclear submarines and that kind of stuff, and so now we're both getting older, and we want our sons to take over and do what we're doing, and we have a little cottage up in northern Wisconsin that we go to. Actually, last summer we made a commitment to take 2 weeks each month off, and we went up there for 2 weeks each month during the summer. And we have a little tin can, we call it. It's a little trailer down in Key West that we go down for scuba diving and fishing and stuff down there when we get a chance. But we still, keep our thumb on the pulse, and we, every day that we're here, we're in there working and see what's going on and involved in it. And so that's pretty much the story of Harry's. Anybody have any? You want to put the other little video on?
I'll try.
Patience. Yeah, and I feel a lot of self-gratification because I've done so much for the communities, not just Anna Maria and Longboat Key, but at Bradenton and Sarasota and the Poconos. Yep, and
Harry, how many hours sleep do you get a night?
I sleep good at night. But no, I usually when I'm running the business, I work. I usually would go on 6 hours or 7 hours is what all I needed for functioning and working all the time. And in 1984, they made some new rules on Longboat Key, especially, and that's when they did the comprehensive plans and stuff, and so property taxes started going way up on the island, and the government wants to make a lot of money, and what happened was like on Longboat Key, a lot of the condominiums were owned by local people in Bradenton and Tampa and Lakeland, and they would rent their units out during the winter and make enough money to rent it out during the winter, and then they would come and spend the summers out there and live. But then they made new rules and stuff that you can't rent your apartment out for less than 3 months at a time, and so a lot of people, couldn't afford to keep it, and so they sold out. And like with Anna Maria, a lot of the people moved off the island because the property taxes, you couldn't raise a family out here and pay what the property taxes were going up, and insurances and stuff like that. So that's what changed the demographics the most on Anna Maria. That's not it. You got to go to the other one. But well, we can watch this one.
It was there last night, it's not there now.
Okay.
Well, that monster thing might be the guy who created it.
No, that was the guy that was at it.
Oh,
Harry,
well, why
what
is
do
it
you-
on there?
what do you see the direction going forward
Go forward?
when you're looking at, the business?
Well, I think that with my business, I think it's very successful, and it keeps on going. It's like this is another little video of our place.
Hi everyone, my name is Mike Rennick, and this is all about keeping my promise of sharing Longboat from the eyes of the people that work here, live here, and play here. My guest today is Harry Christensen. Many people better know him as Harry's. He owns a convenience store, an outstanding deli, and one of my favorite restaurants here on the island. Harry, thank you for being a part of this.
Thank you for joining us here today. Appreciate it.
Maybe you could help just explain to the viewers how you got started.
Well, I moved down here in 1973 with my wife, and I came down and we found a job at Far Horizons Resort, which was a Michelin Guide resort on Longboat Key. And one of the main reasons why so many influential people are on Longboat Key, because it was a very famous place, the only one in, I think, the United States. And then I went on to Cafe La Rope and worked at Cafe La Rope as chef, and then at Cafe La Rope I prepared the dishes. And everybody knows that the best dining room in the world is to have a balcony overlooking the Gulf of Mexico and having a wonderful dinner and watching the sunset, drinking your own wine and listening to your own music, and just, it's a beautiful place to be. And so then we started that, and I got a restaurant open 6 years later, and I started Harry's. They gave it identity as Harry's Restaurant, Continental Kitchens, and so here we are at Harry's Continental Kitchens. I'll take you around and show you the inside if you like. See how the guts of the business works.
Hey guys, this is going to be an exciting place, outstanding service, and outstanding food. So Harry, I'm looking forward to the tour.
I am too. It's a Longboat landmark. We've been here now for 41 years, and hopefully we'll keep on being here for another 41 years as my son Hal, the general manager, is going to take over my spot.
You're going to stay around for a while.
I hope so.
I like that. Very good. Let's go inside.
Here we are at Harry's landmark restaurant on Longboat Key. Come on, take a good look inside of what we all have going. It's a fine dining restaurant with white tablecloth. It's got a majestic garden outside. I'll introduce you to our bar, and this is our general manager and my son, Hal Christensen from Harry's. This is the bar area. We do a breakfast, brunch, lunch, and dinner here at Harry's, as well as a in-between happy hour and a patio menu. We start off with breakfast every day at 9 o'clock. We've got everything from the German apple pancakes to roast beef hash to 5 different kinds of eggs Benedict. Sunday brunch is very busy, but we do brunch every day. So come in for brunch, you will love it. After that, we go to lunch, everything from fish tacos to glorious salads, whatever you like. After lunch, it kind of goes until about 5 o'clock as to when our dinner menu will start. And at 5 o'clock, we've got everything from veal to filet to grouper to lobster. You name it, we got it. We're Continental. We do all delicious food. And then we also specialize in a 4-course prefix as well every evening, where you get a choice of different entrees, appetizers, soups, and desserts with additional wine pairings if you like. In addition to wonderful food, we also have wonderful libations. These are 3 of our popular daytime morning cocktails that are on our specialty. Our citrus sunrise martini, which is made with house-infused pineapple vodka. We have our pomegranate rosé sangria here. And we have our bacon Bloody Mary, which is made with Cheetos infused steak and vodka. All right, well, now that you've seen the bar and the restaurant, let's go take a walk through the kitchen. This is our wonderful kitchen at Gary's. We have lots of chefs that have been with us for 20 to 25 years, Jose and Jenny and Jorge, brothers and cousins, and Aurelio and Irene, and our chef Ian, they're with us for a long time. Thank you for joining us on a tour of Gary's Restaurant. We're a restaurant that's open from 9 to 9 daily, and we serve breakfast until 2 o'clock. Hope to see you soon. Thank you very much for joining us.
Anybody have any questions?
How many people do you employ for all these businesses? Are you finding it difficult to get employees within the market?
Well, we're right on the cusp of 80. We try to stay under 80 because of the different rules and regulations, but we're right on the cusp of 80. Sometimes during the season we're 60 and 65, and then during the summer we drop down into the 40 and stuff like that. So we're right on the cusp of 50. And as far as getting employees, the thing is finding a good employee. And you know, I've been there 42 years, and a lot of my employees have been with me 20, 25, 30 years. Some of them, like some of the younger kids and stuff, their parents worked there, and then they've come over here and they've worked, and I've trained mostly everybody in my kitchen started as a dishwasher, and I've trained them to work in their positions all through the restaurant and in the deli. And the trick with it's hard to find real good employees, but the trick is to keep a good employee, because you want an employee that is smart enough and good enough and a hard worker and that could open up his own business or go anywhere and do everything you want. That's the kind of employee you want. The trick is to keeping them. So, and the way to keep employees is by paying them very well and treating them very well and doing as much as you can for them. My employees have to drive by 70 other restaurants to get to me that they could go work at if they want to. So people think, well, the restaurants on the island are so expensive and stuff, and one of the reasons being is not just because of the property taxes and the insurances and everything. It's the cost of operating a business out here. Like my dishwashers have to pay $13 an hour opposed to $9 an hour in town. And some of my cooks are making $24, $26 an hour, where in town it'd be $18 an hour. So you figure in your overheads and your costs, and there's a reason for it being more expensive out here, and it's just because of the demographics of being in business out here. Yes?
This is kind of a follow-up on that.
Yeah.
One of our sons in his early 20s for a number of years worked as a server and bartender at one of the finest restaurants in our city. And he's out of it now, but he talked to me a lot about of course it's very stressful, hard work, being in the restaurant bartending business. But he talked a lot about the drug use and opioid epidemic that was and is rampant in our city. Are you seeing that in the hospitality business overall?
I've never really had a problem with my business, I'm not the one that takes care of it. My employees take care of it. None of my employees want to work next to somebody that's high or drunk, or you're either straight on and working good because it's a great place to work, or they get rid of them themselves. I don't think I've ever even fired anybody in the 42 years of being in business, because my employees take care of that for me. So it all depends. I guess being in a city and the access and used to it, and it's a tough business, but it's one of the greatest businesses if you have a passion for it and you love it, because you get self-gratification immediately for what you're doing. It's not something you do and then 6 months later you get your self-gratification for selling that painting and someone really enjoys it. Here you make a dish and people love it. You make a drink and people like it, and they tip you, and you get self-gratification right away. So it's really a great industry to be in. And that
And they come back again and you get referral business.
that's right. That's what it's all about, referral, just like almost any business. And you have to, if you don't got the referrals coming in, you're not going to be in business. A real estate agent, that's all they do is work on referrals. You know, the ones that are selling most of the properties are the ones that have been doing it the longest and have the most referrals. So that's how that works. And yes?
When I think about catering, I think about the tremendous energy it takes, and you obviously have tremendous energy. I just want to know what vitamins you're taking.
Well, you know, catering is not a pushy job. I mean, it's really simple. I mean, it's difficult. I have servers that want to go and try catering, but catering is so much hard work. You know, you think of when you actually do the party, that's the easy part. It's getting everything packed up, getting everything loaded up, getting to the facility, unloading everything, setting everything up. Then you do the party, that's the simple part. Then you gotta pack everything up and load everything up and bring everything back and put everything away. And I've had some servers that work with me and they tried and they said, man, if I have to lift one more box, I think I'm gonna just die. You know, it's like, no, this isn't for you. It's a lot of hard work and you have to ad lib everything that you're doing when you're at a party, because you can forget the toothpicks and ruin the party because you can't pick up the stuffed mushrooms. I mean, it's so simple to make a mistake. You have to always ad lib and take care of what you have to do, and you can't let the host know there's anything wrong ever. That's the most important thing. It's kind of like a little duck swimming on the pond, you know, so gracefully moving around, but under the water, the little legs are going like crazy, you know. So, yes, sir.
We spent a wonderful week in Gore County, Wisconsin in September.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to know why we couldn't find any Packers fans. Anyway, do you still enjoy cooking? And when you cook at home, what do you like to cook?
I cook at home every day. I mean, I cook breakfast and we make whatever we have, you know. I don't, you know.
Do you have a specific dish you like to cook?
Delicious ones. That's about it. Anything and everything, you know. So.
And one more question. We live in a small town, Springfield, Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a community college that has a really good culinary school for art baking and program. And they have classes for adults every week in the evening. You go out and whatever you make, you get to eat. And they're all packed. It's hard to get in. It only takes 20 students, but they have something they can do. Is there anything like that in the area where adults could go out and take a little cooking class?
Well, Ray does some cooking classes at Euphemia Hay, but they're kind of like lunches, and he shows you how to make a lunch, and you all sit around and watch him make the recipes, and then you get to eat the lunch. And that's one that I know on Longboat Key. Other than that, I don't know of anybody else that does it around here, but they have a Manatee Technical School has a cooking course. It's not like a 2-year program where you're going to get your associate's degree or anything like that in it. But I think, yeah, University of South Florida, I think, has like more of a hospitality course, and that's more for management and stuff like that. But as far as cooking courses, I don't know of anybody that does it. But one of the kids that I trained at Cafe La Rope back in the 70s, Augie Manicheski, and he runs some places in Springfield, Illinois. He has like a hot dog stand in the Capitol, and he has like 3 or 4 other restaurants in Springfield. His name is Augie Manicheski, I think. So if you ever in Springfield, you want to go to a good recipe, say hi to Augie for me. Yes, ma'am.
I've got 2 questions, if I may.
Okay.
First, you said you have to pay a higher hourly wage. Is that because of laws or regulations?
No, that's what you have to do. If you find somebody that's really good, a really good employee that you can trust and dependable, and going to show up every day, and not, you know, you pay them well, so they want to show up, and that. Well, because they're there. They have to drive all the way out here. Sometimes it takes them an hour and a half to get out here and to get home. You know, so they have to go through great demands to get to work, so you have to make work for them really good, that they enjoy working, they enjoy what they're doing, and they get rewarded for it. We do health insurance, we pay well, we do everything we can do to keep our staff, where in town, they don't, you know, you don't have to do that. Yes, sir.
Seems like most restaurants around are either breakfast, lunch, or lunch, dinner. And you have all three.
I'm a maniac. Yeah, you're right. Yes, ma'am, we have another question.
Yeah, you used to run some wonderful wine tastings.
Mm-hmm.
First on one side and you moved across the street to the restaurant and with some wonderful food. Are you gonna do that again?
We kind of cut back on it. Those were all fundraisers that I donated to the library, to the garden club, to all the, you know, the Save the Turtles, whatever the organization was. I did one once a week, and I put out food, and I charged people like $5 or $10 to come to it, and I got some wine donated from the things, and I donated the food, and it was those were mostly fundraisers for them, but they got so big that I couldn't handle it, so we had to kind of stop them, because it was like getting to be 150, 200 people, and you know, there's no place for people to park, and it was becoming unsafe for the neighborhood. It was too good, right? Yes, ma'am. When the orders come in, it's order pickup. So we have a point of sale system. You punch your order in on the point of sales on the dining room. It goes into one goes to the cold kitchen, one ticket goes to the hot kitchen, and at nighttime you do lines in it. So if they're going to have an appetizer, then they put a line in it. When you order it, you go pick up the appetizer, and then you call to pick up the one appetizer, and you clear it. Then you call, pick up table 23. Then boom, they fire it, and then they send it out. And breakfast and lunch, everything is order pickup. You order it into the computer, and by the time you get back into the kitchen, your food is coming out and served, and that's how we try to do it. Sometimes you get people that send something back, and it's like, oh my God, that ruins everything. Everybody's got to stop what they're doing to do this one thing. So I try to train the wait staff and stuff not to make any mistakes on your ordering and stuff like that. That's very important in getting out the system going for getting the food service out in time. Don't make mistakes. So, anybody else have any little questions? Yeah, Julie.
So, in your home, in your pantry or your refrigerator, what are the top 5 items that you have to have always?
Well, I have Harry's rub is one of the things that I have. I have my own little rub that I season mostly everything with, and being from Wisconsin, I always got to have butter, you know. Fruit, we have, I always have a big bowl. I usually eat like a half an orange, a half a banana, and a half an apple. We share that every morning, so I have fruit. Always got some fruit there, and that's, I don't know, lettuce and just normal. I'm just a normal guy. I like hot dogs too, you know. And bottles of wine in the refrigerator. That's the most important thing. Yes. Uh-huh. Well, a lot of chefs always do that, yeah. I don't put any gluten in mine. I don't have any. No, I don't have any flour, any wheat, nothing. Everything is spices. Salt and peppers and herbs and spices. So, yes.
Where do you get your fresh fish?
I get it. I have 3 or 4 different distributors that we call and check the prices and availability of what we want to get, but mostly I use Sammy's Seafood a lot, and that comes out of St. Pete, and I use the Johnny at the it's called Swordfish Grill. He has a lot of seafood. I get my stone crabs and stuff from him, and most of it just local distributors. You know, sometimes no one has grouper except one person, and I have to get it from them. Like last year, we couldn't get stone crabs. I had to get stone crabs from up by Crystal River to be shipped down to me. So it was like, it's a challenge, you know, making sure you got the product and how much you're going to get and what you're going to use and stuff. So, yeah. It's not rocket science, really. Yes, ma'am.
Did I understand that you have a second story?
I don't have a second story. I'd like to put a rooftop bar, but I don't know. That's the next generation's job. You might be thinking of Euphemia. Hey, they have a second story, and they have a dessert room up there and a piano bar, and they have little light dinners and stuff up there. That's a real nice restaurant that's right next to us. Yes, sir.
Do you find your food preparation has changed the last numbers of years because of dietary changes in people's wishes?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the vegans and the vegetarians and gluten-free, and I mean it's incredible how hardly anybody you've ever even heard of it 20 years ago, and now it's like it's all the time. We have everything on the menus marked gluten-free or vegan or whatever. That's not my phone. But it does change, and people's tastes change. I mean, we were just doing our catering menu, and Hal says, well, let's take off the romaki on the menu. We never sell any more chicken liver wrapped in bacon romakis. It's like, well, you're right. No one wants that stuff. I mean, people's taste and what they want change, so you have to always be on the cutting edge of what's new on the market and what people like and what they want. And you have to be prepared to change whatever it is. Yeah.
How big a problem is food waste, and how do you control it?
Well, that's what I always would tell my staff. It's not how much food goes out the front door that you're selling, it's how much food doesn't go out the back door. And that doesn't mean by theft and stuff. That means when you're peeling a carrot, you cut off the end real short and save the peelings. We put that in our stock pots, and it's all about using everything that you have up in one thing or another thing and making things out of it. We always got stock pots going. We always make homemade soups and sauces and stuff like that. So there's always a place to put all the scraps and do things, and so yes, ma'am.
You use a lot of salt in your food.
I'd never put much salt in my food, no, because my clientele in Lombard is always older, and a lot of them don't like salty foods, and people can put their own salt on it if they want it, make it a little bit saltier, and I don't believe in MSG or any of that kind of stuff. We never really highly season anything, so.
Yeah, that's good, because as we get older, the salt is.
Well, my clientele has always been that, I've always worked for you, yeah. So it's that we don't need. Anybody else have any interesting questions you want to know about the restaurant business?
You spoke of that your employees, you welcome in 40 to 60 or 40 to 80. When you're dropped down to 40, how do you get those 20 or come back?
Well, some of them go and work the season up north and work up in Martha's Vineyard or in Wisconsin or something, and then they'll come back, or a lot of my workers are like me, or they're getting old, and they don't want to work all that much either. During the summer, let's just work 3 days a week instead of 5 days a week, and then they know when the seasons come, when the hay's here and the sun's shining, you got to bail it. It's like, we have a window of about 12 to 16 weeks of where we're really, really busy, and that's, January, February, March, and April. So you have to, all hands on deck, and everybody's working 6 days a week, not 5 days a week. So not only are they making a lot of money per hour, they're getting a lot of overtime too. And then they cut back during the summer and enjoy their summers and stuff, because they've made a bundle during the season. So, yeah. Yeah, I read magazines, I like Linda's Kitchen a lot, and I watched the Create. I like everybody on Create. It's always good, and it's one of my favorite shows to watch. I'd like it 10 times better than Fox or CNN. Why? Well, because we've all been classically trained. We all know escoffier. We all know the great old classical dishes and stuff. And a lot of the younger chefs and stuff, they're using some of the names of the old classical dishes and some of the ingredients, but they're just putting their own twist to it and touches to it and making it. And I think it's wonderful how creative a lot of these younger kids are that are coming up and what they know. And there's so many different spices and foods and stuff that are available to us that weren't here that you never would think of using, So it's everything changes. You just got to roll with it. I helped books. I started all through from like 6th grade through high school. I always went in there. The cooks needed me to go get a can of this or a box of that or get this, and I was a little gopher for them and did all the little things like that. And then I would go help the ladies serve the food to them, and I'd clear the plates and I'd wash the dishes, and I was like all over the place.
What is the food that you cook for training camps?
Back in the 60s, it was pretty much meat and potatoes, those guys, Paul Horning and Bart Starr and those guys, they could pack, the Packers could pack it away, and they did pack it away. It was funny because in the training camp, and I was in the training camp when they were in the 60s and stuff, and Vince Lombardi was the coach, and he always ate in the dining room with all the players. The only thing is, he didn't face it. He had his back to him, so he could hear what was going on, but he never wanted to see what was going on. And it was so exciting. They make the rookies get up on the tables and sing a song and do things, and it was a pretty cool era back in the 60s and stuff with all the Packers and knew them all, and it was pretty neat. Because it's a real small town. Deep here is only 10,000 people, and I think back in Green Bay was only like 40,000 people that lived in Green Bay when the Packers were winning the world championship. That's pretty much, it was a pretty neat thing growing up there. And, yes, dear.
How many chefs do you employ? It looked like there were 3 or 4 in the kitchen, and then how do you keep your knives sharpened?
Well, I have a company that comes in and does sharpen the knives. They come like every other week, but I have stones. I have stones that they all keep their own. Everybody has their knives. I have kitchen knives for most of the prep cooks and stuff like that, but most of the chefs have their own favorite knives and have their knives that they work with, and they keep them all. They all take care of most of their own equipment. It's like, a carpenter has his own hammer and saw, so it's the same thing. Anybody else? Yeah, they have them unwrapped. I have one of my most famous things that I sell, and one of the things that I donate a lot whenever we do functions and stuff to a lot of different organizations is my double fudge chocolate brownies that I make. And I have a sample for everybody if they want to take a little bite of brownie on your way out. I have some up there for everybody. So thank you very much for listening to me.